In this video, we are going to learn how to work with formatting headers and footers on papers, title pages, and tables. The document I need you to open to practice from is Diet 2 in the Lesson 7 data files. All right, we're going to say that this is a research paper that you have typed. You'll notice the margins are a little reduced in it. Don't worry about that. There is already a kind of a title set up, and then there are these subtopics that are set up as headings. Right now my Show Hide Paragraph Symbols button is selected. I may turn that off if I choose so later on. Okay, now what we're going to do first of all is we are going to practice just inserting a page break at this point, which kind of would be along the lines of creating a title page. You've done your paper, and for this assignment you're asked to do a title page. To do that, we go to the Insert tab, and then you'll see there is a page break button right here. When I do that, oops, pardon me, I'm going to go back here because I did want to have my cursor right here. This is where I wanted. I didn't pay attention to where that was. So let me try that again. With my cursor in the correct spot where I want the page break to happen, which is right here, I do that, and now that's moved down and I have a blank page here. I see the page break icon that lets me know that's indeed what I did, and so I am ready now to work with modifying some headers and footers. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my Insert tab right now, and I'm going to start by working with the footer. If you've never worked with headers or footers before, think of header at the top of the page, footer at the bottom of the page. And I'm going to insert a footer, and I'm going to go ahead and just do a blank one. You can see that each of the footers that you have to choose from have some preset formats. So if you're asked to use a different one as part of your assignment, you would see the name of the one that you were supposed to choose. We're going to go ahead and choose the blank one here, and you'll notice when we look at this that we have a center tab marker set up already with as part of the footer, and what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and press the tab at this time. By the way, you have a type text option here that lets you know you're ready to put things in. As soon as I tab over, that goes away. I'm going to go ahead and add my name here. We're going to say that for this particular project, your teacher has asked you to include your name as a footer. Now, if you change your mind about this and you say, you know, I think I'd rather right align this versus having where the center tab defaulted to, we can change that to a say a right tab at this particular spot. Now it does say a right tab exists when I look at this, so I'm going to go ahead and click on OK, and then at this point I'm going to come and I'm going to tab my name over. The 6.5 spot for this, because of the wide left and right margins, is really far over, and so if I change my mind where I maybe don't want that quite as far, you know, where it's almost off the edge of the page, I can adjust that also as I'm working with it. Okay, now at this point I'm going to begin working with my header, and so I'm going to go ahead and practice using a little bit different style header. I'm going to choose the alphabet header for this one, and you'll notice that on each page then what it's going to do is give me the option to modify a title right here. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and use this title marker that I see, and I'm going to put the name of my paper here, which is the American Diet Report, and now I am seeing that information as I work with it. Okay, so as I'm scrolling down here, I can see that I will have my document title at the top of each page, and then I have the still this blank page here that will eventually be my title page or my cover page. What we're going to do now is we're going to click on the header for the at the top of the second page here, and we're going to say that we want this to be a different first page. And basically what that means is that takes the header information and the footer information away from my title page, but it now will start showing up beginning on the first page of my paper itself. Okay. Now, if I want to work with my footer again, which I do, you notice as long as I have this design tab open, I have this go to footer option here, which brings me there. And what I'm going to say I want to add at this point is a date for this information. Okay, so right at the left tab here, or the left margin in this case, I'm going to type in the words updated, and I want to insert a date and time. And then you would choose the particular time that, or format that you want to use, if you want to just have it be in numbers or if you want to have it spelled out. And once again, you have the option to update automatically. That might not be a bad feature from the standpoint that if you're working on your paper, you know, because you're very organized, you're working on it in advance, not the night before. And if you do print it out the night before, if you want the date updated, you can go ahead and select that. Okay. Now, many times with working on a paper, you do want your page numbers to show for this also. And so I'm going to click outside of my, well, no, I'm actually going to keep this open here. I'm going to go to header right now, and I'm going to say I want to add page numbering as part of my header. And so I can go with the header selected now. I'll say I'd like to have my page numbering at the top of page. And I'm going to choose as an example plain number 3, which is going to put my page numbering on the right hand side of my page. And when I do that now, you'll notice that when I added that, it overrode having that title piece available there. That's okay, because we're going to be creating a title page here for this. So if that was the case, what we would want to do is we'd want to organize that a little bit differently. So if I undo adding that, okay, what I can do then is if I come back to my header information and I decide at what point I want that page numbering to appear, I might need to create another tab here. For example, if I'm thinking I want it at the right hand side of my document here, and I add that page numbering in, or wherever I want to see it, I could even go with a little bit outside of my margin boundaries, and let's see, okay, because I see what I'll have to do here is with my cursor here now, I'll re-add that right tab in where I want it to be. And it automatically jumped to the right side, so I'm going to drag it back. And now if I tab over to that spot, I can insert my page numbering there. Oh, and it still overrides that title, doesn't it? Okay, so we would need to make a decision on that. For right now, let's go back for a moment, and I'm going to show you one more thing. You can tell it that you want it to insert the page numbering at the current position, and then that doesn't override the title for you. So once again, how I made that work is I set the tab for where I wanted it to be, and I said use my current position, and then once again I have these different options of format layouts to choose from as I go through that. Okay, so we're done with setting up our report now. We're going to close header and footer. Now, sometimes, and this isn't the case right now for us at Northfield High School, but for your job in the future, you might be working on a giant project in which more than one will you have access to the document, similar to, say, a Google Docs, but perhaps beyond Google Docs. You're asked to add some information that identifies maybe some updates that you've done to a paper outside of comments and those kinds of things. And where you can leave a little note for the next person, so to speak, is if you go to your office button and prepare, you can open the properties. Now the properties, this is called the properties dialog box. We'll get some more information over. But if you add your name, say as the author, oops, mistyped here, as the author here, And then you'll notice that because you had this information entered as a heading, it automatically plugs that in as the title of your report. Once you do that, then your information kind of sticks in here. And if there were some pieces, if you wanted to add a comment that said, I got as far as, this topic, whatever it might be, on February 15. Now you're leaving a note for the next user, and when they open up the document properties, as long as this is saved in a shared directory, they'll be able to see it. Okay. You can also open up what's called advanced properties, and this is where you get at all of the details. How big is my document? This one's 257 kilobytes. Other summary information, you can see it took the document properties and updated it here. As far as that goes, so if there's any other notes, and then you can still see, okay, what's my word count and my paragraph and those kinds of things. So this just allows you to add any additional information to your document. Now, with your name listed here, this will stay as the author, saved to the hard drive of your computer. At this point in time, if you'd rather not have your name there, you can delete that. If you don't care, you can leave it there. Originally it showed users, so you could go ahead and change your name. I'm just going to leave mine in for right now as we're working with it. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to move back to the top of this. We're going to do a little bit of editing. I'm going to go ahead and close this document properties piece, but what we're going to do now is we want to use the software to create a cover page or a title page rather than doing it ourselves. And so you'll notice if I go to my Insert tab, there's a cover page option, and we have a whole bunch of preset layouts. Now, some of these you might want to stay away from the volume of toner you would use if you tried to print them out. The option that they want us to practice with is this sideline cover page, and when I do that, you can see I still have this extra page that I'm going to end up deleting here because I don't want this blank page, unless that's going to be my table of contents down the road. Okay, if this paper is so giant I need a table of contents, I might pick that in. But you'll notice you get some headers here. It says type company name. Well, these are all called placeholders right here. So if you don't want the company placeholder in, you can just select it and delete it, okay? And if there is not a subtitle, for example, a subtitle might be additional information, you can select it and delete it. And you just need to click on the placeholder title and delete it. Because I left my name as the author, it automatically adds my name down here. If I want to put the date of this particular project, I can go ahead and just jump into the calendar and select the date that I want this to be, or I can select today. You'll notice it formats this date piece as just using numerals, month, day, and year. We still have a date as a footer from what we previously set up. So that's one way that you can create a cover page if you want something that's perhaps a little more interesting than just typing in the information all by yourself. Now, the next thing that we're going to practice is creating kind of changing the layout for a different section of our paper. And so what we're going to do for this is we want to jump down to what we currently have as page 5, and we're going to do some updates to the references section here. So we're going to put our cursor in front of the first reference section, and we're going to go to page layout, and we're going to open up the breaks option here. And what we're going to do, we've practiced using the column break already here. What we want to do is we want to go to a continuous break. Okay, and what that means is we didn't want to have the word references or whatever, depending on the length of our paper, we didn't want this to be on its own new page. Perhaps for this to work, we should see if we can't get rid of this page here, and you see to do that blank page, all I did is delete the section break, and then that moved my information up. So now my references has moved to page 4, which is where I want it to be. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to create two columns for my references, which you normally wouldn't want to do, but once again we're just practicing some things here. So if I go to columns now and I go to the more columns link, I go to two, but I make sure that I apply it only to this section. Okay, if I wanted it to be differently, I could set it up that way, but since I created a section break right here, it assumes I'm only going to want to make the change to this section. So I go ahead and set that up, and maybe I don't want the My Pyramid piece to be on the bottom of the third line. Maybe I'd like to take advantage of this new section that I have right here. So if I come in front of My Pyramid